Greens leader Adam Bandt joins me now from Canberra. Adam Bandt, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you've expressed regret at Lydia Thorpe quitting the party, but hasn't she just solved your biggest political headache for 2023?
No, look, that's not how I feel. I feel sad. It's not how I wanted the year to start. I asked Lydia Thorpe to remain in the party, including as our First Nations spokesperson, accepting that if she had a different view with the rest of us on Voice, that she could exercise that and vote differently. She's ultimately chosen a different course. I feel sad about that. I think that's the overwhelming feeling from my colleagues as well. And now we've got to work out how we're going to move on given the challenges facing us in this political year.
So you've used that word sad a lot, but Lydia Thorpe's position for some time has constrained the Greens' ability to take part in this debate about the Voice fully. It must be a relief.
No, look, that's not my feeling. We've said very clearly as the Greens, and this was the position that we took to the election, that we wanted to see the statement from the heart, all of the elements implemented, and we want to see action on all of those, and that of course meant truth and treaty as well as voice. And the government came to Parliament and said, look, we want to progress Voice, and what's happened over the last few months is that we've had good discussions with the government about how we can also progress some of those other matters and also address some of the issues that were of concern not just to Senator Thorpe but to the whole of the Greens party room. What does this mean for sovereignty? What are the next couple of years going to look like as we progress the other elements?
Let's just deal with the Lydia Thorpe issue for a moment. We can't pass over it so quickly. And it's clear that you've had a prepared answer that you've used a few times today about the sadness, and I understand that you must be using that to avoid debate about the implications of Lydia Thorpe's resignation, but I think it's too important to do that. If you're being honest, how would you have been able to campaign freely for the Voice with one of your own undermining that position?
Well, we have a position in our constitution where members of the party room are able to vote differently, provided they go through the process of notifying the party room, and that's something that Senator Thorpe did. Look, we wanted to see progress on all of those elements, and the position certainly that I put to Senator Thorpe was that if she wanted to vote differently, I would take on responsibility for advocating the party's position so that we could prosecute that fully. That we know the way things have turned out, and the feelings that we're feeling are genuine. She's someone who we respect and have worked closely with for some time. She's made a decision. Obviously don't agree with the decision, but understand the reasons. And now we're in a parliament where the Greens remain in central balance of power. The government needs us to pass legislation, including the Voice legislation. We've got a lot of big challenges this year, and we've got to now get on with it, not in the situation that we would have wanted, but the situation that we've got. But
Lydia Thorpe's been public in her objection to the Voice for a long time. Doesn't it reflect badly on your leadership that it took you so long to resolve?
No, I don't think so. And I come back to that point that I was saying before. The Greens party room earlier on last year said, look, we want to see progress on all of the elements. We want to know how we're going to move forwards to get a treaty in this country. What's the government going to do about that, given that that was also part of the statement from the heart? How do we address these real questions about sovereignty? We've had good discussions with the government over a number of months, and I'm really pleased that at the end of that we've seen some strong advice, including statements from the Prime Minister about sovereignty. We've seen the government commit in the budget to funding to progress Truth and Treaty through a Makarrata Commission. So those discussions have borne fruit, and that was part of the reason why last night our party room unanimously decided to support the Voice campaign. We want the referendum to succeed, we want First Nations justice, and we want Truth and Treaty as well. But and we're going to continue to push for those.
Yes, but are you asking the audience to believe that it would not have been more difficult to make your arguments with Lydia Thorpe remaining in the party?
Look, I think, as I said, we have a structure in the Greens where people who want to exercise a different view to the rest of the party are able to do that. Some other parties have that process as well. Lydia Thorpe gave her intention of her fact to do that. That's all on the public record. But we've now got a very clear public position that we are all united behind. We are going to be campaigning yes in the referendum. It's a chance to take a significant step towards First Nations justice in this country, but we're not going to let up on holding the government to account on those other issues of truth and treaty as well, because treaty is critical to get justice in this country.
Now, you've said a number of times that treaty should come first. Doesn't that muddy the waters for what the Voice is trying to achieve in the current debate and towards the referendum?
Well, that's been our position for some time, and it's the position that we took to the election, and it's based on a very clear understanding that people have been waiting for a treaty in this country for a long time, and Labor even Bob Hawke talked about one back in the 80s, and people are waiting, and it's an important part of the statement from the heart, and our position is that we should be going forward as equals.
In the statement from the heart and in the Uluru dialogues, it was made clear that there was a sequence. Are you arguing that there should be a treaty negotiated at the same time as a campaign for a referendum for a voice to Parliament?
No, what I'm explaining is that that's the position that we took to the election, and then the government said, look, very clearly, no, we're going to proceed with voice first. And so we, as the Greens party room, given that we had a slightly different position around the ordering, we took our time to come to a position. We've come to a position now, and it's unequivocally and unambiguously to say we want the referendum to succeed. We'll be working with the government to get the legislation through Parliament. But at the same time, we're not going to let up on those other important issues. And part of the reason for that is that at the last election, there was a big mood for change, and we saw a massive change. And we now have, I think, a parliament where there could be major steps forward on First Nations justice in this country, given the composition in the lower house and in the upper house as well. And we want to see progress on all of those elements, and that's what we're going to be working hard for during this parliament, and we're going to be campaigning yes.
So you won't moderate your calls for treaty first, even though it may damage the campaign for the referendum for the voice?
Look, we're going to be getting strongly behind this campaign. We want to see the referendum to succeed. We'll be urging people to vote yes. But what the government said is the government has reaffirmed that it is committed to the implementation in full. And the government has said that it will begin the process of a Truth and Treaty or a Makarrata Commission. And that's one of the things that we've been calling for, and we really, we're thankful for that, and that's something that we're going to be putting effort into as well. But look, while the campaign is on, we'll be saying very simply, vote yes. It's an opportunity to take some important steps towards First Nations justice. Do we need to do more? Absolutely, and we've been saying what those things that we need are to do more. Are we going to keep pushing for those? Yes, but while the referendum's on, look, let's make sure it succeeds. And I don't think that a no vote will take us closer to truth and treaty. And so that's a big part of the reason that we want to see this referendum succeed.
So on balance, this week is a couple of days old. Has it been a good week or a bad week for Adam Bandt?
Well, look, we've got a very clear position now on voice to Parliament, and we are united to campaign for that. It's not the way that necessarily would have liked the year to have started to be, to see such a respected figure for us go. But look, we've got climate change to tackle. We've got to get this referendum over the line. We've got to tackle the cost of living crisis. That's what I'm focused on now. That's my job.
Adam Bandt, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.